decided.
Let's get this party started.
Craven something scary.
Hello, Sydney.
KillJoy Jake.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
Nightwatch Zone.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Get up!
The collective has spoken. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Lethal Collective. We are ready to rock and roll. We'll have the rest of the guys in shortly, but we wanted to start this off and touch base with everyone and start getting any questions that you might have. And obviously, we'll try to get to as many as we can. Let's just see what we got going on. Let's see who's in the chat. Denisha, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. And thank you for reminding people, hit the like button, and it helps out so much. You guys don't know. It really, really does. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jake. He's in the chat. He'll be up here in a little bit. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we gotta have fun. We gotta have fun, man. We gotta have fun. Nathan, what's up? What's up? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Always there, always there. Marie's in the chat. What's going on, Marie? Hello to you as well. Hope you're doing good. Katie, what's going on? Katie, I thought you'd still be at work right now. Good to see you, though. And if you are at work, I hope your day is going good. I know what it's like when you're at work and you might have the opportunity to check out a stream or maybe listen to a stream. So hope everything's good with you as well. All right. And for anyone that will be popping in, hello to you. Hope that you're doing well. Now, I'm sure once we get everyone here, we're going to be catching up a little bit because we haven't been live. It feels like in forever. It's been I believe it's been 2 weeks. So, but in YouTube world, in YouTube land, it definitely feels a lot longer than that. So we'll see how that all goes. For me, like sometimes a whole day, it can feel like it's, been like 3 weeks in YouTube time. So, all right. Hey, we got a knock on the door. Let's see who it is. Well, look, it's old Jakey. What's going on?
Yeah, what's up, Knight? How's it going, man?
It's almost like I think I know you, man. How you doing?
Almost, man. It's been a while, man. It's been a while,
right?
But it's good to be here now. It's good to be here now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm digging the haircut, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just
got it all
nice
shaved up.
Swift. There you go. Looking swift, my man. Looking swift.
Thank you.
I was just rambling to these guys, but I was talking about, but I know you can understand what I mean, man. It doesn't time move differently for you as far as like sometimes this sounds totally stupid, but there are times when if we have a week off for whatever reason, sometimes it feels like it's been like a bunch of weeks, but then there's sometimes that time seems to just go by so quick and it's like, wow, it's been a month and I've been, doing whatever on YouTube. It's just crazy.
We're constantly doing stuff, for the page. So it just feels like it's just constant. Like it's just, you're moving. And then suddenly a month has gone by, that's just how it feels, at least for me sometimes. So I definitely relate. Hello, Katie. How you doing? How you doing? I saw you say hello to me. So I wanted to say hello back. Hello.
Yeah. And happy early birthday to Katie. Katie's going to be doing a birthday stream tomorrow. So that's really, really cool.
Very nice. Happy early birthday then. Very good.
Right? Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Val.
Val's Views. What's up?
That's right, man.
Formerly
Yeah,
the spicy general.
well, she's still very spicy, man, but she started her channel and she took that dive in there, and so very, very cool. And obviously if you guys have not subscribed to Val's channel, then please do. Val's Views. Yeah.
Very
Oh,
nice.
we got a knock. We got a knock. Look who it is. Let me bring this guy in here.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey. Hey.
Happy
Hey, look,
Monday.
good to see
Happy
you, man.
Monday.
You too, man.
It's almost like we should make that into a song. Happy Monday. We got another knock too. Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh man. The party is about to begin. What's up, bro?
What's up? I don't know.
Hey.
I don't know if this internet. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi keeps fading in and out, so I don't know if I'm gonna get lost at some point on the stream or what. But I don't know what's going on. They must be working on it or something. So
We're happy to have you here while we do.
we're here. We're here. Don't get too comfortable because it could be short-lived. So we'll see.
Oh my god.
We will see. But
How you been doing,
gentlemen,
man?
we're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
I know.
Feel the power.
Feel it. Feel it.
Feel it. Exactly.
I know,
Got
man.
the power. You are the chosen one.
Wow, you're the
Seven.
chosen one.
Big bowl of energy, about to shoot it into someone's face. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Getting into like Street Fighter mode or something here.
Lend me your power.
I can do my special moves any minute now. Jeez.
Bro, if you stand up and you start like twisting around with your leg out, I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Forward,
No,
forward,
Jake has
square.
some
Bam.
Jake has some special moves, all right.
Tyler knows all about that.
Mm.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Destin, what's up, man?
Hey, man.
Hey.
Pause.
40 Phantomus finally made it to a live. Missed the gang. We missed you guys.
Yeah. Glad you're here.
Absolutely. All right. So, fellas, what's new, man? What's shaking? What are we
Life
gonna
in
talk
general
about?
or horror?
Well, look, it's funny. We've had some streams where we've talked about life in general. We've had some weird ass conversations. I'm not gonna lie, but always fun. So I don't know,
You're good.
man. Wherever you want to go, whether it's life or if you want to talk movies.
Look,
Well,
life
you know,
is
it's
like a
funny.
box of chocolates. You never know what you might get.
That's true.
Did you just come up with that? That's amazing.
I did. It just popped in my head. It was never used in a big movie ever.
Damn, that's impressive, man. I wish I could come up with something
Never
like
ever.
Wow.
Tom Hanks should use that line in a movie at some point.
that. Really
Oh,
specific,
wow.
but
Some
all
point.
right, man. No, I'm kidding. It's crazy, Knight, to go off your point. There just hasn't been a whole lot of crazy horror news this past week. Not
Well,
a
that's
whole lot to
true.
report.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, I think that it's just one of those times where not much is going on, but something's got to break soon, man, because we're inching closer and closer to October, and we know that we're going to be having some really interesting, I'll use the word interesting, movies to be checking out and talking about, maybe debating. And I can't wait, man. I want to know when we're going to get something from Saw X. That's what I'm waiting for. Like something solid. You would think that we'd get something soon, right? I mean, we're right around the corner from July. And so we're basically talking, 4 months, right? I mean, or less than 4
What'll likely
months.
happen is whenever the writer strike ends, boom, we'll just start getting flooded with stuff. Because you know
That's
how
a good
much
point.
stuff is probably on standby right now, just
Mhm,
because
mhm.
they can't really do much, And I mean, look, stuff is still getting done behind the scenes. Like I've seen people say, nothing's being written. Like, come on, like you don't think that you don't think that there's still people working on stuff behind the scenes? You don't think there's still writers that are working and getting paid right now? Of course there are. They're just not going to publicize that because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to get blackballed, like nothing like that. But like the idea of because the writers are on strike, nothing is getting done. Nah, it's not. There's still a lot of departments. There's still big name writers that don't really care about this whole thing, and they just look at it as like this is a nuisance. This is just getting in the way of what inevitably is going to be the end. Like So I don't know. I mean, it has nothing to do with like, again, like the other department stuff. So I imagine like whenever this writer strike finishes, I'm sure that we'll just get this like wave of stuff. But one talking point we could talk about is in regards to Scream 7, the Sydney rumors, and we could dive into that and how they potentially tie in. Do you guys think that that they're gonna have that Sydney will be back for Scream 7? I mean, they obviously want her back, but do you think she would? And what would you want her role to be? Knight, you want to start, and we'll just go in a circle.
Well, I'll tell you what. Whatever her role is, and I know they want to come back, and I know she said that she would like to come back. I just hope and pray that the role is good, as far as the weight that she has in the movie. And I don't mean like as a character, she's back in the movie and people are even in the movie referencing her, or the action is kind of moving around her. I want her to be involved in this movie. And I think, I don't know, man, like I think back to 6 and I really enjoyed 6, but we definitely did not need Gail in that movie. And I think it was abysmal how detached she was. The attack scene was really, really cool. It's something that's memorable. And I enjoyed it. And every time I watch the movie, I enjoy it. I think, Courtney was great in that scene. But other than that, like, there was no reason to have her in it. And I was just thinking to myself, how could they not? And I know it's a lot of characters, so I get that, and I know we're moving forward, but it's almost like, well, why even have her in the movie? Either she should have weight in the movie, or she should have been killed in the attack. And I feel even stronger about Sydney. If Sydney comes back, quote unquote, she comes back into 7, and if her role is the same level as Gail's, or even just a little bit more, I'm going to be so freaking disappointed. I don't know. Maybe that's being selfish, and I could recognize that as a fan. I'm being selfish, and I know it's very difficult to balance, the old school and the new. But I mean, look at 5. I thought that they did a really good job with what they did with David for the amount of time he was in the movie. Like he felt like he had weight in the film. So that's what I would want, something similar to that for Sydney. Like, make her a part of this, make her integral to the action and the story. So anyways, I'm going to stop ranting. I just realized I was like, do it.
Get it out.
Sydney.
It's all right.
Do it.
We got a long time left.
But will it happen? I think I'm still kind of up in the air. I think I could kind of see it going both ways. I hope she does. I'm leaning towards that she will, but I'm not sure. So there you go.
Yeah, to add to that, I would love Sydney back. We got to find an organic way to work her into the story. And yeah, I don't want it to be a repeat of 6. Like, I hate to sound like an echo of exactly what Knight said, but I mean, dude, you hit my thoughts on the whole situation almost exactly. Like, I want her back. I think she's great. She's one of my favorite final girls of all time. But if she doesn't work into the plot, I don't want them to bring her back for no reason. Like, I look back at Scream 6, and the more I watch it, the more I realize Gail really serves no purpose in that film. If she died, different story, which is upsetting. I know no one wants to hear that, but she really serves no purpose. Like, Kirby did everything that Gail usually does. You know what I mean? The only thing that Gail really brings to the table is she's like, well, I'm the one who found, the secret third act setting. And that could have just been Kirby, like the only reason they did that was so Gail had somewhat of a purpose, but it just feels like inefficient storytelling to me. And I wish we could have found something better to do with her, or have some point to it. There was a lot of characters that I loved seeing, but it kind of resulted in just fan service. So if they just bring back Sydney for fan service, I'm just not crazy about that personally. If they can find a way to have a ghost face who is not only going after the core 4, but also Sidney Prescott for whatever this new motive is, I'm into it though. But give me that. Find that and make that happen, and don't just bring back a character to have them come on screen and do a little dance and then leave.
Right.
That's what I'm hoping for the next one.
Good point.
Yeah, I basically echoing everything both of you said. Hate that we're all in unison here. Maybe Fatal rocked the boat, but I'm pretty much in agreement with with both of you as far as like what my expectations are. Also, I'll take her back in any capacity. Let's say that. But at the same time, I want her to be back in that older, like Scream 1, 2, 3, even 4, one of the first 4 films. I want to be more of a part of the actual story, and have her role mean something, be significant, and not just feel like she's there to be there, to be on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And which again, it was 6. I think we all felt that way about Gail, and which is too bad because there's a lot more Gail could have done in that movie if they'd have rated it for her,
Mm-hmm.
a lot more. And I was hoping for that. I was hoping that old tenacious Gail from the first trilogy would have been back in Scream 6.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just didn't happen, man. We barely saw her. But so having said that, man, if the studio is serious, that Paramount really wants her back, and she said last year, or maybe earlier this year, whatever it was, that she feels there's more story to tell for Sydney, that she thinks that her story's not over yet, then I hope that they mean that. They both mean that, and that they find a way to tell her story and conclude Sam's and Tara's story as well.
Someone's got a lot of noise going on back
Yeah,
there.
a lot of like robotic something going on there.
It's like Battlestar Galactica up in here.
It is one of those machines with the red little
The Cylons.
Yes, they used to creep me out. By the way, when I was a kid, they scared me to death. But yeah, seriously, I would like to see a movie where we have literally 2 concurrent storylines. Like some of these crime dramas you watch, they've got like 2 stories running simultaneously, and neither one feels like it's a bigger story than the other. They feel equal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the feeling I want from 7. I want to feel like it's as equally Sydney's story as it is Sam's, and but they're not cannibalizing each other. It's like they're able to write it efficiently, so that we feel like we're getting 2 great storylines running in this movie together.
Yeah, man.
Complement each other. That's what I want to see, ideally.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, and I don't know why, but earlier, I just real quick fade, but earlier, because I had mentioned Saw X, Saw 2 came to my mind. How we had John Kramer, his particular story going on, and then of course we had the story with everyone in the house, and they were kind of moving parallel. And so in other words, it can be done. We can have a storyline where Sydney's very prominent, but also with the core 4 or Sam or whoever, you know what I mean? Like that would be a great way to do it, Steven. So great call, man.
Yeah, man.
My guess is that if Sydney comes in, it'll be like a full circle tie-in, right? They'll have like Sam, Sydney. My problem is I don't really have faith. Like Jake kind of was talking about, and I mean everyone was, about how Gail's story. I mean, even Kirby. Like, what did Kirby do that some new character couldn't have done? There was nothing that was Kirby-esque. Like, even her character wasn't the same type of character, which is understandable. It's justifiable. But, like, when I was watching Scream 6, I was just like, this could have literally been anybody.
Right.
Like, nothing happened with Kirby that you can go, oh man, only Kirby would have been able to do that. Or man, that's something that definitely that makes a lot of sense for her character arc. I mean, even like the FBI thing was just kind of like, just was out of left field. And I think we even talked about that on a collective at one point. Like, how do we feel about the FBI thing? But, so, and then with Gail, it was like, it just felt like Scream 6 felt like a movie that didn't need any of them. That you could have just done with just the new core characters and then just added some new characters and boom, you could have been off to the races, which I'm okay with. I don't mind that. I don't want to see them trying to force feed. And that's always the problem with bringing in legacy characters into a franchise that you're trying to do new stuff in. It's nearly impossible to find that balance because we all have an idea and a vision of what we want to see from the legacy characters. And you can almost never do that without taking away from the new characters. So it's kind of like you either have to do A, continue the story with the legacy, or B, tell a new story with new characters. But if you could do some full circle tie-in, that's why I think like the only character that we know of that I think, I mean, you could always write a new character, but the character that I think makes sense to bring it all together would be like not Christina Carpenter, Leslie Mocker, right? Because she could be like the end game, right? You have her, you have, she has the tie-in. She looks at it as like, the Loomis and Sydney and the Prescott family ruined my life, ruined my family's life, ruined just everything, so now you have somebody that's targeting both of them simultaneously. You could even do something to where, because I just don't see them. One, I don't think, as shitty as it sounds, I don't trust them to write a good enough story to tell both of their stories simultaneously. That makes sense. Like how Craven was talking about, where you have two, like you have the Sam narrative that's going on, you have the Sydney narrative that's going on, and then it all culminates to a boiling point. I just don't trust these writers to do that in a compelling manner, in a way that we're like, man, that was great. I just don't. They haven't really done anything writing wise that makes me go, man, these guys are great. Like, it's kind of just been your typical run of the mill stuff. And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But then to go like, oh, like, let's get super crazy creative. Like, what have they done that's really that super crazy creative, which is my point, or which is my issue. And so I think, this is just my thought, it'll be something along the lines of like, Sydney gets like taken in the first half. They don't kill her. Like, it's ominous. Like, did they just kill Sydney Prescott in the opening scene? Like, no way, right? And it's something like that. And then at the end, you get Sydney, who's like been captured. They're getting ready to kill her. The Scooby gang show up and save her. And then you have this Sam and Sydney showdown where they are getting ready to take on the big boss type thing. That's what I kind of think, to where you have this story that ties in Sydney. It makes sense. That's kind of the Sydney getting captured is kind of like the point in which everybody gets involved. Gail comes back. Sam is like, I gotta help her, right? Like she would have done the same for me type thing. Like, I think Sydney's the one that you put in the compromise situation that brings all the Avengers together, and they go to save Sydney. They save Sydney, and then they run into this trap. Like, that's kind of my thing. And then it's like a bloodbath, and Sydney and Sam are the last two left. They end it all.
The Doctor Strange portals all open up.
Yeah, they all open, and then, cap on your 6.
Andrew Garfield comes through.
Yeah, they're just like, so that's kind of how I see something like this playing out. Like, because I don't think that they're going to be able to write Sam and Sydney into the story, interweaving amongst each other in a convincing manner. I think they probably have Sydney in the opening scene, so you get a good like 10 minutes or whatever, maybe some epic chasing with her, some showdown. Maybe she even kills one of the Ghostface and she thinks it's over, and then like 3 more show up, and it's just like some epic opening scene. You're just like, whoa, leave it on. Like, is Sydney dead? Is she alive? No way, they just killed Sydney in the opening scene. Then you carry on, and then at like the back half of the movie, the third act, Sydney's alive. Everyone's got to go save Sydney. Let's go do it. Everyone shows up, and then you have the big showdown where Sam and Sydney get the full circle moment and everything, and it's Leslie, and she's like, it's because of you and your father and da-da-da-da-da, and Sydney. That's probably how it's going to go.
Now, as much as I'm a big Avengers fan, and that really, really is cool, from the marketing standpoint, though, I wonder how they would. Let's just say they were going to do that, or even something similar. I wonder how they would market it, because, of course, bringing Nev back is going to be like huge. Everyone's going to be like, it finally happened. The stars have aligned. But if she is quote unquote captured in the beginning, as the open, then they can't show anything of her scenes or talk about anything.
I don't know. I mean, you could show her. I disagree. I actually think if it was me, I would show her like the point where it looks like she dies.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. So like, you have Sydney, you have the phone call, you have the showdown, maybe Sydney's running, and running into guys, and then she just gets taken out, and then you get the moment where Ghostface is about to do the finishing blow on her.
Yeah.
And And, and then it cuts to black, and then you get the title card or something like that, and everyone's like, no way, they didn't kill Sydney. And then you go, but that adds the anticipation of like, did they really just kill Sydney? Did they not? I would market it as if Sydney's going to die, because I think that that's going to add so much curiosity, because you're going to get a lot of outrage that are like, no way they're going to kill Sydney Prescott, boom, which is free promotion, free press. And then you have all the people that are like, good, it's about time they kill Sydney Prescott, blah, 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 free promotion, free press. But everybody's going to be very curious as to why or what the end result is. And then, you have that moment, you leave it that way in the film to where maybe you even think she's dead. Like, it's something crazy, right? Especially the way everyone's been superhuman in these movies, lately. Like, you could throw her off of an 8-story building and just say, hey, like, oh, she's dead, and then she just like walks in like nothing. Like,
what the heck was that?
I know, like,
just gets
like,
up.
God, thank God I fell in that trash truck.
Right. Yeah, crap.
I don't know, but I do. I would market it that way.
All right.
Like, killer.
All right. Well, Jake, before you say something, I just want to jump in and real quick. Bobby came in with a super chat. So thanks a lot, Bobby. We appreciate you, brother. Saying, been a while, nothing really to say, but love you guys. Glad to see you guys are still doing this. Keep it up. Hashtag Stu Nation. Hashtag get with it, Fate.
Wow. Bobby, you're awesome. Never gonna happen. You guys are all gonna be very disappointed.
Thank you so much, Bobby. We appreciate you, man. Thank you. But I'm sorry, Jake, what were you going to say in response to Fate?
Oh, I was going to add, if we do a Sydney focus at all in the next movie, I just think to avoid the issues of 5 and especially 6, just why does, we don't have to have all the legacy characters in every movie. We don't have to have every surviving character from the last movie come back for the next one either. I mean, we could do a Core 4 and Sydney movie and all the other characters are new. And that would kick ass. If Gail is, what if Gail is freaked out, traumatized at this point, and she just wants to stay in New York, and the next movie has a whole new setting where it's somewhere else, and somehow we get the Core 4 and Sydney together somewhere, and with a bunch of new characters getting chased by a Ghostface killer. I would love that. And my big issue is not that I hate these characters or something. I say this all the time, but what I'm talking about is when I say I want less returning characters, it's because the mystery cannot simply exist in a medium where there's so many different characters we've already seen from the past who have gone through this. It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would Mindy go Ghostface? Why would Chad go Ghostface? Why would Tara go Ghostface? I just don't think it makes sense. You can't do one of these returning characters who has gone through this so many times. I just won't believe it at this point. Like, maybe going into 6, I could see Kirby being Ghostface. We haven't seen her in so long, but now after that movie came out, I just don't see it happening. Love you, Josh. Thank you. But my point is, I just think what we need to do is we need to slim down the returning characters. There's so many of them that we could have. I mean, theoretically, going into this next movie, dude, we could have the Core 4, Josh Segarra, Kirby, Gail, Sydney, and dude, how can you possibly do a murder mystery with that many characters? Don't shoot yourself in the foot, man. Give us a good mystery with Sydney back at the forefront. And the Core 4. Gail doesn't have to be in all these movies. I love Gail, and I've gone on record many times to say Gail's my favorite Scream character, without a doubt. But I don't think, she doesn't need to, she didn't need to be there in Scream 6, and if she doesn't need to be in the story for 7, that's fine. I love these characters. We've gotten 6 movies with her that are kick-ass, and 5 movies with Sydney Prescott that kick-ass. But if you really want to have her in this movie and do what Fate was talking about, where you kind of advertise it as oh, could Sydney die in this new movie? Do another crazy big chase specifically focusing on Sydney. That could be really cool. A great trailer sequence as well. I'm down for it, but just don't overcomplicate it. That's your nostalgia bait right there, and that's it. Sometimes that's all you need to do. They overdid it a little bit, I think, with 5 and especially 6. And to just have Sydney Prescott come back, I think would satisfy that. And then we could focus on all new characters who are our new potential Ghostface, instead of 4 new people in 4, and 2 of them ended up being the killer. It was that's pretty obvious, man. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it.
Do you think that there's a way to successfully have killers that are, so you have you have the Core 4, and then you have Sydney and Gale, and everyone else, right? Let's say they're all there. Either way, right? And you have your new group. Let's say you have a new group of like 5 or 6 characters. Every Scream movie, like 2 or 3 of these characters are going to be Ghostface. Do you think that there is a way that they could make it to where none of those characters are Ghostface, or do you think like you're not going to be able to develop Ghostface, so it's going to fall flat? Because I kind of go back and forth with that at times, like I'm like.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with that too. I know what you mean. Like I think one of the greatest things about the Scream franchise is that there's a ghost face hidden in plain sight in some scenes, and you don't know that until after your first watch. It immediately makes it rewatchable. Like with Scream 6, the first thing I wanted to do when I got out of that theater was watch it again, I might have been able to kind of piece together who some of the killers were, but still, it was like, I want to rewatch that and catch more lines of dialogue that I might have missed the first time that were like, oh, wait a minute. Ooh, that's okay. There's an indicator that maybe that's a clue if this person's Ghostface or not. So I don't know. I think I would prefer having a ghost face in plain sight. I just don't want it to feel like a sucker punch when you get to the third act and you've been, looking at all these characters and then it's this random person that has never even been talked about until, the killer reveal. That would be a little disappointing, I think, to me. It just feels like a cheap shot, But if you can work around that somehow and like characters at the very beginning who has to leave town for some reason, for whatever reason,
Right.
And then they come back at the end. Oh, I've been here the whole time.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Make it a little more developed than what I just pitched, but yeah.
Well, I agree with that, and I think that's one of the difficulties in the formula, right? Because when we go into these movies, every time we get, and once 7 is announced and we know who the cast is, we're immediately going to try to suss out who is Ghostface or who's involved. And especially the way I think they've kind of pinned themselves in a corner quite a bit, because like you guys said, it doesn't really make any sense if it's any of the core 4, right? Yeah. So there's 4 off the bat right there. If Gale or Sydney are involved, we're not going to think it's them. Kirby, maybe, but really that wouldn't make much sense either. So you've got a cast of new people, 5 or 6 new people maybe, or whatever. And so you're immediately saying, oh, well, it's probably one of them. Do you guys think that, as far as the formula, do you think it's getting so worn out that it's not as
that's my problem
enjoyable?
That's my problem, and I've mentioned this before. Like I've mentioned on here, and I've even mentioned it on Fate Decided. Like the problem is there's no real mystery anymore, right? Because again, just through process of elimination, it's only like 4 people, right? Again, like you mentioned, you have the core 4, you have Gale, you have Sydney, you have Kirby. Okay, let's say you introduce 6 new characters. Right off the bat, you just took a pool of 12 and cut it in half.
That's right.
Or a pool of 13 and cut it in half. And then 2 or 3 of these people are going to be early quick kills. And so it really boils down to like 2 or 3. So I mean, your odds of guessing the killer right, especially when there's multiple killers, is basically 1/3. You have a 1/3 chance because there's going to be at least 2. So you basically have at least a 1/3 chance of getting at least 1 right. So that's kind of my thought, is like, you're not going to be able to add the major suspense unless you do something where like you just don't see the killers coming. Like they kind of tried to do that in Scream 3 with Roman, right? Roman was in little doses, and then at the end you got the heavy dose. The problem was it fell so flat that they had to spend 10 minutes kind of bringing you up to speed because they didn't lay the breadcrumbs well enough for you. And it has nothing to do whether you think the movie is good or bad. I mean, that literally was the thing. Even Sydney had to say, "Who are you?" Like she was the voice of the audience in that moment, literally, because it was like, wait, who is this guy? They didn't lay the bread what they should have done. And this is why I think it could work if they did it properly. You laid the breadcrumbs of, we'll use Scream 3 as an example. So like if they would have done so you introduce Roman in these small little doses so the audience at least knows his face and knows the character. And then throughout the course of the film, if they would have laid the breadcrumbs that Sydney has a brother and that the brother is the killer, well, now it's like, who's the brother? Yes, it takes away the mystery of like the girls, but that doesn't mean that they can't be an accomplice in on it. But the problem is that it just, the whole mystery was like, who's leaving pictures of Maureen Prescott all over the place? And then it's like, I am. And it's like, okay, who are you? And then they had to spend 10 minutes explaining who he is, what the connection is, why he's doing what he's doing. And then, then you get the back half of the third act. But by the time you get into it, it's just, there's none of that luster. Where I think if you did something where, so you have this full circle moment, right? So let's say it's Leslie Mocker, right? If you could lay breadcrumbs throughout of like Stu, and everyone thinks it's Stu, and it's that connection. And then so at least and have that connection that it's a Mocker, and then at the end, it's not Stu, it's Leslie. But immediately, okay, there was the character that was established of Leslie. That she's related to Stu Mocker. It makes sense that all of the connections and all the tie-ins are to Stu Mocker, but Stu's dead, so here's Leslie type thing. Like, you could do something like that if the crumbs, because the whole point is you piece it together for the audience, and then at the end, you have the reveal, and like, you put the breadcrumbs together and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And maybe Leslie is like the reporter again or whatever, something stupid like that, right?
Jake would lose his shit. Jake would start throwing his raisinets across the screen.
I just started foaming at the mouth a little bit when you said that. I was like, Debbie Salt! Not again!
I mean, that's what they try to do it in Scream 3. They try to do it in Scream 2 with Debbie. And like, again, I just thought it was poorly executed. And look, Scream 2 is my favorite of the trilogy, arguably my favorite of the trilogy, of the franchise. Next, not counting one. One will always be my favorite, but I'm saying like sequels. 2 is argued, but like the whole Mickey and Debbie Salt thing was terribly executed. Terribly. Like it was poorly executed. I think it can work if you execute it in a proper manner. Like, what is that proper manner? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what the story is, right? So that's the writer's job. But it's just, that's the only way I see you being really like surprised, where it's like everybody dies at the end. The last character that you think it is ends up dying. And it's like, okay, so is this a fake out death again? What's going on? Somebody's got to be coming up. And then you see this character and it's like, who? And then they say who they are. And as soon as they say who they are, you immediately know, oh, okay, that makes sense. I have that connection now. That's the problem. They didn't do that with Roman. If you could do that in Scream 6, I think you can make it make sense. But I don't know. It's
I just think about like Jill's reveal and why, like, the reason that's so impactful, in my opinion, is because she's basically been a huge focus of the story up until then, and then it completely turns itself on its head. Like you're like, ooh. Okay, so a lot of these characters kind of resemble, characters from the original movie. This is almost like a remake within an actual continuation. Jill is kind of like the Sydney, like Trevor, whatever the fuck, is basically your Billy Loomis. There's like scenes that mirror scenes from the original too. I just think about like, okay, you're clearly looking at this Trevor dude. He's suspicious. But Jill's like, having what does she have, like a cheese stick and a glass of milk at one point? That's fucking suspicious, man. She's eating some weird shit. Okay, my point is that it's a shock. It's a shock when you see her, because it's just so depressing. It's like, oh my god, Sidney Prescott's like someone in her lineage now is betrayed. Like, obviously that happened with Roman, but it's so much more impactful because you've seen their relationship together as family members. You don't see that with Roman. That's why Roman doesn't work for me, and Jill really does, because it's just so much more upsetting. It's a more contained story.
Yeah,
I think that's what we got to do moving forward, instead of doing these,
but
like,
how else do you do that unless at this point? How else do you do
that's
that
a family connection. Don't do the family connection.
But I'm saying like how? Yeah, but even a family connection, like what character could you like?
You mean what type of character, like a friend or someone you work with?
But you'd have to establish that character enough to where you have that impact. Like, Jill was the family connection, and was like the tie-in, and it was that betrayal, right? Like that's what hit was the betrayal. It was like, oh man, like you were like, like in like I made the joke earlier, you were the chosen one. Like that was kind of the thing, right? It was Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Anakin betrayed Obi-Wan, and it's like why? Like I you were it. Like you like that's what it kind of was with Jill and Sydney. Right, Sydney was like, "No, like you were supposed to, like you're the final.
You were
girl.
supposed to be good, yeah, right.
Yeah, you're supposed to be good.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be on my team." The problem is, I don't see how they can do that in this film unless Mindy or Chad or Tara become the betrayal.
Right.
Well,
right? Like,
I think we can
if
still
Tara
do it in one
is
movie.
Just sick of the bullshit, and she just snaps. Right, like then then yeah, like I could understand that betrayal. I think that would hit. Or
but here's the thing:
Mindy's been super sus.
Your argument though relies on the fact that the core four already has that deep connection, right?
Yeah,
like that's why it would be a betrayal. Well, they did that with Jill in one movie with Sydney. Now you could do that
dynamic,
but you could do that with the best friend character. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you
but
can
they've done
easily
that in
do
every
that.
movie. In every movie, Billy and that
boyfriend,
that love thing. You had Mickey, who was the best friend, who literally manipulated Sydney throughout the course of the entire movie. All those
Mickey's
little
not as present in the movie though. That's my thing about Mickey.
But it's still like if you watch that movie,
lurking.
He's lurking. Yeah.
Yes, but you knew. But here's the thing: he was still present even without being present. For example, you don't see Mickey, but you see Derek show up, and you have that dialogue moment where Derek is like, "Oh, Mickey had to cut film. I'm here to pick you up." Right after she saw Ghostface, that was Mickey. Mickey was the Ghostface on the stage manipulating her. So he was always present. He was always
Mickey still
present.
disappears though. Like he after he does his little stupid dance in the fucking in the one scene,
he does.
he just disappears from the movie until the end though. That's my thing. Like I think you can recreate the Jill thing. Just don't make it a family member. Don't make it a boyfriend. Don't make it.
But it's not new. Like I said, like every
that's
movie,
the issue though. That's what I was saying before we even started this. Is that's the issue with this formula is with the core four. How are we going to have someone in their midst that makes sense, that is present in the story, that feels new? Because we can't do a family thing. We just did a roommate. A coworker that probably wouldn't be great, and if it's someone that's new.
Josh Segura's character is probably the only because at least he was he was minimal in Scream 6, right? But he was established, so people know who he is, right? He knows that he has that connection. Scream 7, you could have him in a more prominent role where Tara, he's taking Tara places, and he's like big brother to Tara. And Mindy is she loves the group loves him, he's just so loved, so cared.
We'll welcome him into the core four. Yeah, with the Fab Five.
He's part of the Fab Five. Maybe they even have that name, right? Maybe even Chad's
I coined it
now. And then at the end, boom, he becomes the bad guy.
See, that could work. I just think you got to make him more than just Sam's love interest. Because I said it today in my video. I'm like, if they do the love interest thing, I'm going to strangle someone.
No, but that's why I think you have. That's why I think you establish him. That's why I think you establish him with everybody. Yes, him and Sam are together. They're happy, but Tara, Tara, I don't know, whatever. Tara needs a thing for her school project and she forgot, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, I'll go get it, don't worry." Why are you stressing out? You have that moment where she's maybe breaking down, I'm just and he's like, "It's okay, I'll take care of it, you go to school." You establish and build him as he's Knight said, he's Fab Five, right? He's part of the group. Everyone loves him. He's beloved.
To build on that, though, there's two things that they always do with the love interests that I think they can avoid with Josh Segura's character if they make him the killer. Now, me personally, I'm not crazy about it, but to entertain the idea, they can make him they can still make him lovable. But the two things I think they need to avoid is don't do the Billy Loomis thing where he's overtly creepy and you're I don't know why Sydney's with this guy. This guy's kind of an asshat.
Yeah.
But there should be problems in the relationship with him and Sam from Sam's end instead, to make it something different. Like, for whatever reason, Sam is just not crazy about him anymore. We could write something very simple in there. You know, maybe he's just like, he's not around as much because he's at work, you know, something along those lines. And Sam's like, I don't know if this is working or not, but he is like got his hooks in all of the other members of the core four. Like, he is doing so much for them, like you were just saying. But then at the end, to reveal, like, the whole time, you know, you almost feel bad for this guy because like Sam's treating him like dirt, and all because he's just trying to support her or something like that. Then the twist at the end, instead of, you know, what they do with Billy Loomis and Richie in the other movies, he's been like kind of, you know, you almost feel bad for him in a sense, but then bam, he's the killer the whole time at the end. That could be different.
Yes. So I do like the idea of like the struggle dynamic. And look, I don't even think you need to go that complex. I think it's as simple as like Sam was betrayed, like kind of like how Sydney with Derek. Derek was the perfect boyfriend, right? But like Sydney, like she had those struggles. Like as soon as shit hit the fan, she immediately started questioning him. I would like to see, like, you could do it where she's just dealing with the trauma, and she wants to trust him, she wants to love him, she wants to care for him, but she just can't. Like, she can't get to that point because of her past. Like, I think that's something that is already inherently built, already established, makes sense. You don't need much explanation. Like, okay, I get that. And you have that tie-in. I also kind of like what if they had everything that we just talked about, and they did the original idea for Scream 5, which was Jill basically having to put the Ghostface costume on again to take out and like clean up the mess because somebody was trying to expose her. What if you did that with him, right? So you had Josh Segura's character, Danny. You had him who, like, again, we talked about this before. He was a part of maybe what's the Jason cult. And not even. I mean, he could be a part of the cult, but I'm saying like you could have had him involved because he was super sus in Scream 6. But you could have had him with what was it, Greg and Jason? Maybe he was involved with them. They end up getting killed, and so he just is like, well, no one knows I was a part of it, so he just keeps that stuff under wraps. And maybe this new killer in Scream 7, maybe there was a journal or something that Jason kept or Greg kept that had Josh's name in it, and so they're trying to expose Josh, and Josh is like killing all these people to try to save it. And so it's like the good guy gone bad. He's so beloved in the group. He wants to be a part of the group. And then they have that moment where maybe Sam catches him killing somebody, or maybe maybe Mindy finds out and he has to try to kill Mindy now. And because he doesn't want to lose Sam and he doesn't want to lose Tara because he looks at her as like a sister, and you have this struggle. And now you have this showdown to where like Sam has no choice, and he's just going further and further down this rabbit hole to where he's kind of losing himself. So you could have the Derek-esque character, the beloved character, best boyfriend ever. Like, this guy is just too perfect in every way. And then you slowly start to see the decline all the way to the end, to where he's just snapped and he's like, all right, fine. I tried to be good. I tried to do this. You don't want to listen. Then I guess I'll have to kill you too. And then you have this.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jake. You seem like you're boiling with excitement.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm like, oh my God, like so many ideas. I love this. Like, this is when it gets good.
Great.
To that point, like, I just think like what I'm hearing is like what we need to do in entry number 7 is we either need to reinvent the formula or we need a hard reset. You know what I mean? I feel like those are really our only two options at this point. You can't do another straight up murder mystery like what we've done in a lot of the other films. I just don't think it's going to work anymore. We see through the tropes at this point. Scream has to reinvent itself if it's going to continue. And to do it, you have to do something like that, where maybe we know Josh Segura from the get-go was involved, somehow with the Scream 6 killings. And that makes that drives a new form of tension that we haven't seen, besides like the opening scene of Scream 6. We need to find that, or I just don't see how we can possibly continue this franchise. I mean, look at Friday the 13th Part 7. We have a final girl who has superpowers now, and listen, as ridiculous and outlandish as it is, the movie stands out. A lot of people really like Part 7 because it attempted to do something that the past movies didn't. And honestly, it's up there for me. I really like it. It's a fun one.
Man. Hell yeah. They did something different. It was great.
Yeah. Well, you could even establish Josh Segura from so like you could because you could still have the murder mystery in that because it's like who's the killer that's trying to frame Josh. So but you could have an entire film through like the eyes of so like you could have the opening scene, Ghostface kills this victim, right? Whoever it is, and then Josh Segura takes off the mask, and we're like, oh snap! Like Josh Segura is the killer, right? And we're all wondering, and we're in this perspective where it's like from Josh Segura's viewpoint, almost like we know that he's involved, he has that tie-in, but he's not the main killer. You have these other killers, and then you find that point, and then at the end, you have that culmination where it's like, oh, like. I had to kill Stacy because Stacy found out that I did this, and this, right? Like, again, like you have a Ghostface that's trying to frame him. Maybe this Ghostface is leaving clues to people. Maybe she was a reporter and she was going to run this story about how Josh Segura was the third killer involved in the attacks or whatever.
And yeah, so he's got to stop her.
Yeah, so now he has to stop her. So he ends up killing her to cover his tracks, take all the evidence and burn it. And like now you have the established point, but we don't know that till later. We just see Josh Segura kill this reporter lady, and we're like, what is going on here? And so now you have this like entry point of intrigue where it's like, whoa, so Josh Segura is the killer. Okay, cool. And why did so what's his motive? Why is he doing it? So now you're watching all his interactions like glued, trying to figure out like, so none of them know, none of them have any suspicion. He's just like the perfect guy. Okay, perfect. Oh, shoot, there's another killer that's involved. Is he working with Josh? Oh, so like there's two killers. Oh, no, this other killer is actually trying to frame Josh. Okay, now it makes sense. Now we get the piece for the audience perspective. And now it's like, okay, that's why Josh was the killer in the beginning. He's killing to try to cover his tracks because he was involved in Scream 6, and now he has this new life. Now he has the little sister he always wanted in Tara. He has the girl of his dreams in Sam. He has, his best friend in Chad, who he's always wanted. And they have this bromance and this love. And him and Mindy have, like, this connection and stuff, right? Like, I just think you could build this, like, beloved character that you're almost rooting for, but it's wrong because like you love his dynamic with the characters and at the end he just snaps, right? Like I think that could be a great way to approach it. I don't think any of that's going to happen, by the way. I don't think the writers are clever enough to do that. I just don't. I don't think that they're going to be able to come up with I think it's going to be straightforward, black and white. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some long lost brother or something like that again, or Billy had another kid.
No, man. Just saying that it just makes me groan.
Every single movie, they go, "Oh, they're not going to do this again." And guess what? They do it again. So, like the whole idea of like, "Oh, they would never have another long lost brother." The writers just aren't creative enough. Like it's just
I think you're not giving them enough credit. I mean, here's the thing with 5.
What have they done that's that creative? What have they done that really?
5 was supposed to be the first and last movie that they made. Like they were had no intention of making another movie after that. So they wanted to set up some characters that hopefully the audience would like, give us a good mystery. And honest to God, Amber's reveal is one of my favorites, if not my very favorite of the entire franchise. It blew my fucking mind. I loved that. Listen, maybe you didn't have the same experience, but me personally, I did not see that coming at all. Like, blew my fucking mind. I have the utmost respect
There's
for
cool
that.
moments, but cool moments. Like, anybody can come up with cool moments. My kid, who's not a writer, could come up with some cool moments. Like,
that's what writing is, coming up with cool moments, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
there's more to writing than just coming up with cool moments. I mean, it's
I just think
story, the structure, the body, the beginning, the middle, the end, the character development. There's so much to writing beyond just like, oh, Amber blew Liv's brains out. Like,
before it's only so shocking because of the setup. I didn't think it would be her. Yeah. Like going through the whole movie, she was kind of just a side character who was a little bitchy and mean. I was like, okay, maybe, but maybe a red herring, maybe not even so much as to say that. My thing with Scream 5 though, is I think that movie was not set up to make another film after that. They brought Chad back and they probably, I don't know, like, did he die? He got stabbed like multiple times in the side of the stomach and he still lived through all that. And we can say that we've already talked about Scream 6 and what happens with Chad a million times. But my point is I just don't think they were aiming to make another film at the time. There's entire interviews with Radio Silence talking about that. So the fact that we got Scream 6, I think they already knew, like, well, I don't know what we're going to do for a mystery. We have like 6 characters that like initially 6 characters who are going to come back, you know, Sydney, Gale, core 4, that it's like, how do you do this without writing in, you know, 20 characters? I don't think they were as prepared with Scream 6, and that's why we got a somewhat messier movie. But I don't know, man. I just don't know if you're giving them enough credit to say that they're not good writers after what they gave us in those 2 movies. I didn't say they weren't
good writers. I said they're not creative enough. Like, there's plenty of writers. There's plenty of good writers that aren't creative. I mean, there's plenty of books that are published that are just like every other book. There's plenty of material that's just basically copy and paste something else. Like, that doesn't mean that they're not necessarily good. It just means that they're not creative enough to come up with something original. That's what happened in Scream 6.
Wes Craven had to bring 3 characters back for each movie. Like, with this movie, they had to bring 6 on, and then Kirby, and then one of them dropped out. You know what I mean? That's the difference, in my opinion. That's way harder to write a mystery when you have that many core characters.
They're trying to juggle so much.
Before Sydney left, the story was still the same. All they did was just change the story to have Sydney out of it. Like, so it wasn't like they wrote an entirely new story, a new script. It was gonna be the same thing regardless. It was just
that's not what I'm saying though. Like, I'm saying that there's a bunch of return characters that couldn't have been Ghostface. If the ending reveal was that Mindy was our killer, I don't think that anyone would have really liked that.
Do the Richie at the ends? No. Like, you couldn't have came up with a different motive, didn't have to copy and paste
the Scream 2 thing. Yeah.
You didn't have to copy and paste Scream 2.
I'll give you that. I mean, I'm not crazy about that either. But
creative. I understand that
we know you're not, man.
Yeah, I know that. Good point.
I know that there was a lot that they had to figure out, a lot that they had to tie together. It's not like they said, it's not like the studio said you got to write a script tomorrow. They had time. They started writing Scream 6 before Scream 5 ever even got released. Like, so they knew they had time. So it wasn't like, hey, we're going to release Scream 6. We need a script in 2 days. Go. Right?
I mean, I'm going based off of what I've read Radio Silence say about the movie. They said that they had no intention of making another film. Scream 5 started, the projections for the film were like really high. People were like, oh shit, this is going to be a big return. So then they're like, yeah, let's get going on another one. They had the location of McGill University set, I think, 2 days before the Scream 5 even dropped in theaters.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm saying. They had months and months and months to write this story. So
but my point is, from the conception of Scream 5 to Scream 6, there was time. You would agree with that, right? I mean, like, they didn't. I don't think my point is when they came up with the idea for Scream 5 and to have 4 core characters, I don't think they were thinking we're gonna make like 100 of these. They were thinking we're gonna make one of these. James Vanderbilt, Radio Silence, they've all said this in interviews.
But again, that proves my point of lack of creativity, because that means that
they only had a 1-movie deal at the time.
Exactly, and they weren't creative enough.
So you mean that when they did 5, they should have been thinking beyond 5, even though they had the one picture deal?
Okay, so here's the thing: if I come to you, if I tonight you write a story, I tell you, man, I love this story. I want you to write another one. You didn't plan on writing another book. You didn't plan on writing another story. It's just I liked your story so much, I wanted you to write another one. So you're not creative enough. So you were creative enough to write this story, which was basically a rehash of 96 anyway, but you're not creative enough to tell a new story when you already have inherent built-in foundations. Like, you could have went in a completely different direction. You could have done a fresh start. I love the New York idea. I love those things. Again, there were quality moments, but it was lazy. The writing was lazy. And it's not like if I came to you tonight and I said, you have 3 days to write this book, then I'd understand. You were like, well, but if I come to you and I'm like, hey, we want to release this in, a year and a half. So you're going to have like 8 months to write this. You have time to explore. You have a writing room. You have a team of people that were like, okay, so we have these core characters, so now it'd be like if you were going to write your second book and now you brought me, you brought Jake, you brought Craven in, and you were like, okay, well, we have these 4 characters that we need to write. Okay, what should we do? And you have people going up. Somebody at some point was like, we should do what they did in Scream 2 and bring Richie's dad back. And everyone was like, Bill, this is why we have you. Bill, man, this is the guy.
I literally made a whole video about
nobody
this
in that
today.
writing room was like, why don't
I
we
just
do
think if
something
you
different?
let one thing like that sour the punch bowl, I just don't think you're looking at the full aspect of Scream 6. It's fine. Like if you don't like it, that's fine. Like it's no.
But it's
we all have
I
difference of
don't have a
opinion,
problem
but
with Scream 6.
my-
It's not just that. You're so.
But my
everyone's
point is
superhuman.
like in my opinion, best kills of the franchise. Some of the coolest, most iconic chase scenes in Scream
But that
6.
doesn't mean
The
that it's
opening
great.
scene,
That
we
doesn't
get
mean
a
the
killer
overall
revealed.
Story is great. Like,
No, I'm not saying the whole story is great, but to say that they're
can
not
find a
creative,
peanut
I
and
feel like
shit
is a little
sometimes.
harsh.
It
You
doesn't mean
know,
you should. That doesn't mean
Like-
it doesn't mean it's edible. Like, you know, like it's just again,
Oh.
like
you don't eat peanuts out of your shit.
Wow.
that's
wow.
that's my biggest question.
Jake-
Hang on,
Jake-
can we
Jake is
back
like,
up?
Wait a minute now.
Wait.
We're talking about a delicacy.
Yeah, right.
Hey, real quick though, and I forgot about this, Bobby. We've been waiting on this, but Bobby had come in with another super chat.
well, thank you,
my
Bobby.
God,
Sorry.
Bobby, I'm so sorry.
We're
I
sorry.
didn't know.
Me and Jake are terrible.
We went on this tangent, and now we're talking about peanuts and stuff, man. But thank you so much. But he says, I have a question. Who dies first, one of the core 4 or whatever their name is, or a Fast and Furious member? It's going to be core 4 because Fast and Furious people don't die. And if they
Yeah.
do,
That'll
it's a
never
fake
happen.
out.
So Fast and Furious ain't happening. One of the core 4, definitely.
Without a doubt, dude. Did you guys see Fast X, man? No way any of those characters are dead. Come on.
I haven't seen it yet, but
Nobody's dying. Like
Haven't
Nobody's
seen
dying.
it
and
yet.
even if they do die, they have like some magical tesseract that brings everybody back. Apparently,
Of course,
So-
yeah.
that's right.
They have
Like, it's gotta
family.
be
They're
what it
fine.
It's all about family.
It's
Thank you
all
so
about
much,
family.
Bobby.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, as we close down here, we're starting to wind down here.
We
Any-
just got started. Hang on.
you just got started. He's like, they're not creative, damn it. Let me just say real quick, just to your point, I get what you mean, where you want more creativity, from the writers and stuff like that, and I get that. But I will say, being the 5th and 6th movie in this franchise, they're in a lane that's pretty narrow. As much as we give credit to the franchise, and a lot of it is well deserved, as far as, well, anyone could be Ghostface, and so this could go on forever. Well, the best part of the franchise, and both of you guys have talked about it, is the mystery, how we get to that point. Because I don't give a crap if Joe Blow from down the street is Ghostface if I don't know who he is. He's just another guy killing people. We have to kind of have a sense of mystery leading up, like you guys said, breadcrumbs. So I think that's the bigger issue, is that this franchise, as great as it is, and I'm sure there's still great moments to be had, I hope, but that lane that they work within, that we love, it's not as wide as we may think. Because again, the big thing is, who's this killer going to be? Is it going to be a friend, a family member, a lover, a son, a coworker, someone that we don't even know? Which, of course, none of us really want that.
I
So
don't
it's
mind
like, how are we gonna get
simplification,
that
though.
point? Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with simplification, though. Like I've argued that, but my point is, like, we here on the collective have came up with 1,000 ideas that make sense, would be a lot of fun, and we're not the writers for Scream 6. Like, we've just through the course of our conversations have came up with better ideas than Scream 5 and 6. Like, it's just, and so you're telling me that they can't come up with stuff when they have an entire team, money, resources, all kinds of stuff backing them. Again, there's nothing wrong with simplifying stuff, right?
And the studio breathing down their necks.
Yeah, but still,
I mean, I'm just saying,
No, yes, but still, like, you still have more than we would ever have at our disposal to come up with an idea. At least at the points we're at right now. Like, yeah, everyone has a big boss yelling at you guys. I'm yelling at you guys all the time. but my point is, I think that they should simplify things. We've talked about it here. Like, there's nothing wrong with kind of going, like Jake said it earlier, go back to basics. There's nothing wrong with going back to basics. But, you can't try to pass something off as creativity, and all it is just in a slightly altered version of what we already got. If you want to make a movie that's just back to basics and you just have these new core characters, Scream 6 should have been a whole new thing. You had your core characters, you went to New York, you told this story. You didn't need Gale, didn't need Kirby. You didn't need any of that stuff. They're trying to sell cheap tricks. Now, maybe it's not the writers. Maybe it's the studio. Maybe the studio is the one that's like, I don't like. Maybe they wrote an original draft, and the studio's like, this is stupid. You're stupid. Get rid of it. Write Scream 2 new. I mean, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I can only critique the people that I know are attached to the writing. So unless the writers come out and say, hey, we had a great idea, and the studio said, no, we want to bring Kirby. We want to bring Gale. We want to bring, like, they've had 2 opportunities now to just completely start fresh. And both times, instead of doing that, we got a 96 rehash and we got a Scream 2 rehash. How is that creative? It's not. They did different things, but if you want to simplify it and you want to just kind of make a modern version of 96, okay, cool, but do it with new characters that we can buy into, that you can establish, that you can tell, and then if you want to do the boyfriend killer thing again, great. They even just the family revenge plot, I get it. It's simplified. It's digestible. Everyone's had a point in which they, have wanted revenge, maybe not to the level of killing somebody, but, a team beats you in sports and you want to beat them next time, right? We've all wanted that revenge. I get that. But the brother, sisters, cousins, dad coming out, like it's just been done to death. Like,
what? Okay, but what about Stu Macher coming back from the dead?
Now we're talking.
Oh boy!
Now we're talking.
Wow,
that's never been done before. I mean, I'm just saying.
Not in the Scream franchise, at least. If Fast and Furious, everyone comes back from the dead.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, come on, of course.
But no, I agree with you, Knight. Like, I don't. I'm okay with them going back to basics, but you can't plagiarize. And even Craven has talked about how he has felt like they have plagiarized 96 in Scream 6 at times. Like, you can't go and blatantly rip something off and then go, oh no, it's my idea. Like, no, like you can't. That's not creativity. Like, everything is inspired. Nothing is an original thought or pen to paper. Like, everything is. If you want to take inspiration, you want to have some like carbon copy scenes or some moments. Like, I loved in Scream 5 where Mindy, she's going down the stairs, or no, Amber, where she's going down the stairs and stuff like that, and it's the Tatum scene all over again.
Right.
I love that. Right. It was inspired. If you want to do something like that, beautiful, perfect. It's nostalgic. It's beautiful. Like, I love that. But to go and have the entire 90% of the movie was carbon copy scenes. If you want to have a moment here and there, you want to do stuff here and there, and you want to have certain points be similar or inspired, then fine. But to basically say, here's a modernized version of 96, here's a modernized version of Scream 2, I've already seen those movies. I want to see what you can do. What can the writers that we currently have, what can they come up with? Can they come up with something creative? Right? What can you do? And I don't know where that falls. Is it the studio? I don't know, but I do know that these writers are attached to this project and they wrote the story, whatever it was. So I can only critique who I know, right? If Jake has a writer for his YouTube channel, I don't know that. I can't go after that writer. I can go after Jake and be like, I love your face, I'll kiss you. But, I can't do that with anyone else, right? I can't do it for the guy behind Jake. So that's my point. And it just, Scream 5 and 6 have came off lazy. They've came off like, here's a rehash for the modern generation, which, I mean, is had success because the general audience, there's a lot of people that didn't know. There's a lot of people that never, probably never even saw 96 until they saw this one. This is a new introduction point. I get that. But we've talked about this. All of us have said. The concern is we're going to get to the point where these are going to be the ones that everyone's finding, and then Wes Craven's legacy is going to get lost in translation, and these are just blatant ripoffs of Wes Craven's work and Kevin Williamson's work. So it's like, I don't know. As somebody that is, passionate about the franchise and in general, like just beloved to the franchise and Wes Craven's legacy and Kevin Williamson's legacy, like I don't want to see them get drowned out by somebody that's just copying them, right? I know Kevin Williamson was a part of Scream 5, so that's kind of a gray area, but still, like, I don't know. It's just, I want to see, what can you do, right? Like, what, like, Jake, you're a filmmaker. Like, would you rather you made a Scream film, but you did your own thing. You didn't go, oh, I'm just gonna make a Scream 2 remake, and just add some new stuff. No. You went, I'm gonna do a film from the killer's perspective. I'm gonna do a film that's, yes, it's Scream, but it's very different. It had creative moments. You had some nostalgic moments. You had some funny things that were like references and stuff. It was inspired, right? But you had creativity. You didn't just rehash an old story. And like that was your whole selling point too. When you were talking to people, when you were doing live stream stuff, what were you always saying? I wanted to do a creative Scream. I wanted to do something that I thought that they could do better that they haven't done. So how can you say that about your film and then go back and say, no, this was creative and this was great?
Here's what I'll say. Like just closing thoughts, because I know we gotta wrap up.
We gotta get it.
I agree to an extent. Like I think that there are aspects to Scream 5 and Scream 6 that totally mirror the original. The boyfriend's the killer and we're in the same kitchen as that original film. But like the motive is wildly different. In Scream 6, it's kind of a similar thing. Sure, it's a father character and the motive is pretty much the same thing as Debbie Loomis. But we also have our killers completely ruining the life of our main protagonist before the events of the film even start, starting up this rumor that she was the killer the whole time. Like, there's more to it than just, this is just a rehash, I think. Like, I get it. I get the complaints, and I agree. Like, it's stuff that's basically the same as what we got in the past, but I just think to call it a blatant ripoff isn't really fair, because there is more to it. There's new ideas we explore in both of those films, even though there are old ones that we rehash.
So what percentage do you think is plagiarism? So let's say,
I don't know if it's plagiarism. I mean, like, if another movie comes out and a boyfriend's the killer, like, is that copying Scream? Where is that line drawn? You know what I mean?
That's the question that I'm asking. Okay, so if I have a script or let's say I make a YouTube video, right? At what point did you just take my entire video and just add a few, a scene here and there, but it's inherently the same thing, right? Like, there's tons of people that will make the same video about the same topic, but their
offer
version.
A different perspective.
I think that they didn't do that in Scream 5 and 6.
There's a whole new perspective given. Like, the whole idea of we're giving Hollywood new ideas by killing our friends. Like, that's different than Jill's motive or Roman's motive. It's something. Like, here's my thing. Like, if you can add to the conversation about Scream and what it is, and that's the only way I want a new movie. If you end up copying something from the past and it's just a little thing, like one or two things, like how both 5 and 6 kind of have, it doesn't bug me as much. I'm not expecting perfect originality from the 6th entry in any franchise, personally. So I'm a little more lenient. If this was Scream 2 we're talking about and it's the exact same motive as the first movie, oh, well, we're on the same page, brother. I'm gonna take a big shit all over that thing's face, okay? But I don't know. To me, I'm a little more lenient. To me, I think it's just a matter of where's your gauge of leniency with rehashing, so to say. Me, I'm a little more forgiving for later sequels. Some people are not, and that's okay. That's fine. It's just a difference of opinion, I think, at some extent.
Yeah. One last point, and I'm done, because and then we can get out of here. Extron said, how many other horror franchises have copied Scream and stuff like that? That's not the point. Like, yes, there are carbon copy Scream films, carbon copy. They talk about this is within the same franchise, right? This would be like, this would be like them rebooting Halloween, but not calling it a reboot. And it's like, it's the exact same movie. That's basically what 5 and 6 was. This wasn't a reboot. This was a continuation. But in many ways, it was a reboot. That's the point. It's about being within the same franchise, not stealing from other franchises or copying other franchises. Because, again, no idea is original anymore. At this point in life, everything is inspired or taken or whatever. My thing is just like, we're not that far removed from some of these storylines. But
good
anyway,
point.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to get ready to wrap it up here. For you guys in the chat, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate it. You guys had a lot of great comments, and we couldn't get to all of them, so we apologize. But leave us comments in the comment section. What do you think about this discussion as far as the creativity with the current movies and so forth? Don't forget to hit the like button, because it helps to support us, and we'd really appreciate it. And we will catch you guys next time. Peace out, and yeah. The collective has spoken.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Peace.